Welcome back to the hustle and welcome back to the grind, everybody. Sorry, a little different perspective today. We're going for a little drive instead, but I want to tell you that waiting to take your pension, your CPP, your old age security, or in this case, Social Security if you're in the US, is your biggest mistake. You've got to take it as soon as physically possible. And 62 for a lot of people is that magic number. My accountants told me 62 is my number. A lot of people are saying, hey, you know what, 62 seems to be the right number on Social Security. Take it while you can. While 67 seems to be the official full pension number for a lot of people, or 65 even waiting. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is I'm driving right now, of course, two hands on the wheel, naturally doing it safely. But I want to talk about the simple fact that I'm driving because I just took my daughter to school. That's right. I have the time to do this stuff. See, this is one thing that we can't buy more of. We can't buy more time. We can't buy those special little moments, maybe where we're bonding with our kids, dropping them off at school, taking them to sports, going out for coffee with my other daughter the other day. Those little moments that we all, wish we could have taken or had those when we were younger, or when we maybe felt like doing it, or we had the finances to do so, and maybe the kids actually wanted to hang out with us. A lot of us find ourselves pissing that stuff away. There's no time like the present. So what I'm basically saying is, if you've been waiting for so long to try to take your pension, and if all you're doing is waiting for that special time, you could literally be waiting for years upon years upon years to get your pension. And if all it means is, waiting another 5 to 10 years to try to up it so you get an extra $600-700 a month, that's a frugal effort, but one in which that clearly doesn't end up doing very well. I want to share a couple of quick stories here, because actually this weekend I had a couple of conversations with some folks that really highlighted, the very idea of take your time, use your time now, use it effectively, enjoy those moments with your friends and your family. Enjoy those moments even for those quiet strolls, because we don't know. We can't buy that time back. And I can't tell you how many people that constantly rebut to my videos and say, you know what? No, you're lazy. And no, I'm not lazy. I do side hustle. I still keep very active. And we do have to do something. And I get it. There's that gap that a lot of people struggle with understanding about how do they transition and how do they make that gap fill when they need that full-time wage, and they'd rather be doing that rather than living under a bridge. And I couldn't agree more. We all have to live somehow. I get it, 100%. But a lot of this comes with the plan, downsizing. You may have to compromise or jeopardize or put off some of your, some of those things that you like. Maybe 4 holidays a year becomes 1 holiday every 2 years. Maybe you don't need that new car, so drop those payments. Maybe you can downsize your house, whatever it is. See, I got a couple news stories here recently. One, a person that I heard of very recently, actually this week, I heard they weren't feeling well, and they were literally my age. They're 54 years of age, almost to the T. They weren't feeling well. All of a sudden, this last weekend, they thought, something's going on. Maybe I ate something bad. They went in, ran some tests, and found out that they have the C word. Now, hopefully things work out well. Hopefully that, we're praying for these individuals that, are given these diagnoses and dealing with some of these problems and the issues that they will be contending with, and the long uphill battle that a lot of them are going to be dealing with, of course, with, treatments or surgeries or whatever that might be. It's never easy. It's going to be a battle. But receiving this news this close before Christmas even just adds an extra element. And so, another one I heard of, and I got to talking, an old friend of mine, and I talked to you the other day about this, or a while back, and I mentioned a good friend of mine who had moved way down south, and we keep in touch from time to time. Absolutely amazing guy. He reached out to me because he still has connections and some people that we grew up with in the same neighborhood. And he reached out to me. He said, hey, Mark, hey, you know what's up? Did you hear the news? And I said, no. He said, a neighborhood buddy of ours from years ago when we were growing up in our old neighborhood where I was buddies, and that's where, I met John, was my good friend of mine. He was at our wedding, and he was my best friend growing up. He realistically said, look, I heard some news because he's friends of friends and got the roundabout way. A guy that we grew up with who was 50 years of age just passed away. And now, granted, he lived a harder life. It sounded like he had some ups and downs and some challenges, some bad choices in life. But the bottom line is 50. I was thinking back when I was 50, I'm 54 now, and I was thinking, okay, only 4 years ago, I was in the midst of my so-called corporate career. Things were sliding, but I was still in a position in my mind where I felt like I still had a future and career, and I felt like I was still moving forward and still had those opportunities, and I wasn't even really necessarily in that full retirement mindset, although I had considered it, and I've been thinking about that way for a while. I was still onward and upward, and I was still enjoying life, and we were still holidaying, and we were still buying, and we were still doing all those things that everybody does in the middle of their lives and the careers. And I was doing that at 50 years of age, and the last thing I was thinking about was going bye-bye or being 6.5 feet under the ground. They got to go 8 feet here in Canada because the frost levels are so deep. I'm trying to be funny, realistically. But it was a sad state. And again, hearing, too, so close to home, somebody that, we, in a neighborhood that we grew up with and spent some time with, played hockey with a little bit at the outdoor rinks, and went riding bikes with sometimes, and gone. Simple as that, gone. And, all that does is continually remind me of, why would you possibly want to wait? So here's the thing, if you can get to the point of maybe not 55, a lot of people, I get it. And I've spoken a lot about this. I wanted to retire early, 50, 53. And I've said ultimately my fallback was 55 was my actual number. So if I was going to do it entirely on my terms, 55 was my number anyway. But I understand a lot of people want to wait at least for Social Security. A lot of people want to wait a little longer because the health care that they can get their hands on and all of that comes usually mid or late 60s. Depends on the country that you're coming from. But the bottom line is, I get it. A lot of people need to wait financial. Maybe they got to finish off a mortgage, help put their kids through school, and maybe they're they're earning a really, really top wage at their job, and maybe they're making a lot of money, and they're like, you know what? I don't work that hard. They pay me a lot of money. It's easy. I just got to get up at 6 a.m, and life's grand. And I get that. I totally understand it. It's easy. It's easy to fall back on that. It's easy to collect the big paychecks. I'll tell you what's not easy, though. It's not easy to get any of that time back, because regardless, that's the carrot. You see, that's the carrot that they dangle in front of us. And well, they're saying, well, here, you stick around, we'll pay you $100,000, we'll pay you $150,000 a year. That's well and good, but at times you can't buy that time back. And every one of those moments, and I'll tell you this, how many people on their deathbeds are sitting back there thinking they wish they could have worked a little bit longer or harder or advanced their career even more? How many of those people are thinking that when they're looking at their last week of life? Very few. They're all wishing they could spend a little more time, be closer to family, wish they could get some more time back, a healthy time where they weren't locked down in a bed. That's what people are ultimately thinking about. So the idea of gambling with the Grim Reaper and the thought of, well, I'm going to push as far as I can, and if I'm a gambling person, I should be able to last till I'm here or I'm there, or maybe I should be good at least since the average life expectancy is, 76, where for men it's, 72, 73. For ladies, it's closer to 79, 80. And what, that very thought of, what, I can hold on at least till I'm 67, then it should give me another 9 years. But let me remind you that those aren't good 9 years. You're giving your best years to your company as you're working. And it's all by design. Here's a thought, right? Here's a thought. What if the state paid you from the time you were born till the time you were 60, and you did everything you wanted and you brought in an income because the state paid you, But then you went to work from 60 to whenever you finished till you were done and your life was at the end. They don't want that because you're not productive, you're not capable, you're physically inactive, your mind's not there. So why would you want to trade that? Think about the reverse, right? They're consuming your life. They're consuming the best part of your life. Now, I get it. We all have to work. We all have to spend those times and earn some money. And, when we're productive, we can go hard, we're strong, we're fast. We can make all that top earnings. We can build a life. We can buy that nice house. We can own that nice car. We can do those vacations. I totally understand that. You need money to survive. So there's lots of times, and I've spoke about this. I truly believe you got to go hard. Opportunities when you're young. Unfortunately, this is just where we're at. Coasting early in life usually leads up to a hard life later on. And this is just the bottom line. You either work hard when you're young or you work hard when you're old. But there's very few free rides out there these days. And so the one thing I do realize is there's no getting that time back. And it's a very sad state. It was really, really unfortunate. But a lot of people push their luck. They push the assumptions that they're going to live till 75. They're going to live till 80 because they're told that the state, people are living longer than ever have. Doctors are saying, due to health and medicine, modern advances in medicine, we're good. We're going to live forever. It's all nonsense. We know that. Because even if you're living longer, usually the quality of life isn't. It's deteriorating anyway. You can't fake it. You're 80 or you're not 80. It doesn't matter how good a shape you keep yourself in when you're 50. There's just natural aging, thinning of the bones, weakening of the muscle, the mind, the gray matter. Everything starts to break down. Your lungs, your heart and lungs. I mean, the longer you can keep that stuff active, and I've always been an advocate of, good health and try to look after yourself, eat right. So it elongates that life and creates a better, more productive and healthier life as you get older. But there's still no defeating gravity. There's still no defeating aging, the natural aging process. And as far as I know, that has not been defeated by any science or doctors. Everybody tries to pretend that they've got the ultimate cure and the solutions, but the reality, it's just not a thing. So taking the idea of taking your pension earlier, or in this case, Social Security, if you can grab it at, say, 62. I know CPP, I was advised by my accountants to say it's 62. So right now I'm gapping bridge with side hustle, and honestly, between that and some other bits and pieces, I'm finding a gap. My wife's still working. She's still got some benefits. And it's different for everybody. Some people have that where one spouse is bringing home some benefits. So we still have some medical benefits and those support structures are in place so that, we have that aspect. There's still all of that ability to fill in some gaps for us. And I'm doing that. And the idea that, working longer in life just does not make sense to me. Now, here's a part. If you start collecting your Social Security, it's going to be reduced, or CPP in Canada is going to be reduced the earlier you take it. Yeah, sure, you might give up 7%, 8% year over year from the earliest qualifying age to, where you maximum age, of course, to collect. You will be losing and giving, honestly, if you take it at your earliest qualifying age, you're probably giving up half. I know in Canada, you're probably giving up just about half of your pension. But think about what that looks like. Think about if it's $800, $900, maybe $1,000, maybe $1,200, in some cases $1,500 a month. Let's just call it $1,000. If you're waiting another 10 years, so that 10 years at $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month, 12 months times 10 years, 120 months, $120,000 before tax earnings at a very minimal tax bracket, because you're allowed to tax. I think in Canada we're somewhere in that $15,000 tax bracket is pretty much tax-free. And then after that, the next tax bracket's quite low. So you're still able to collect a significant amount of earnings, not a lot, before you start getting taxed significantly. So if you're not making the ends meet with that money, and I get it, very few can, because Social Security and CPP aren't enough to survive on. I'll be the first to admit that. At least not when you're, say, 50 to 60, because you're still trying to be active. You're still trying to explore the world. You might want to do the odd vacation, and it's not enough. It's not enough. The cost of living crisis and food costs and insurance costs, and you name it, I get it. So for those moments, those years, what about a mindless part-time job? So now you're collecting your pension, but instead you're going to work for maybe something that props you up to that next tax bracket, but you're still at a lower tax bracket, possibly in that, maybe 20% or so. Again, depending on the country, I don't want to talk in generalities, but that is kind of what I'm saying is notice the ceiling of your next tax bracket. And it's always going to change depending where you're at, but you got to think about that. Take on the amount of shifts. If you need that extra money, go work a part-time mindless job. Go do Walmart greeting. Go work at the flower shop, 18 hours a week. Go work at Home Depot. Go be one of the department specialists selling hot tub kits, telling people how to wire up a basic receptacle. There's a million of those kind of jobs around, and they're not high paying, they're not extravagant, they're not glamorous. But you know what? If you can make yourself an extra $20,000 a year by doing, say, a third, a 0.3 or a 0.5 in terms of shift, why not? Gets you to the ceiling of that next tax bracket. You're giving very little of it back to the government, but you're now only down to about maybe half of what you were making at your maximum income. Depends where you're at, and everybody, if you're a doctor or lawyer, you're probably going to take a bigger hit. But for most people, earning, the average income in the U.S. and Canada these days seems like it's around $70,000, $80,000 a year. If you can make half of that, but you've already eliminated your car loans and you've maybe downsized, or maybe by this time your mortgage is done, you don't need as much. So now if you just need a gap filler, go work some casual part-time job. You've now gained an extra 15, 20, 30 hours a week back that you can now take your daughter to school. You can now enjoy some of that time for those free walks in the morning with me, walking with coffee. You can now enjoy life to its fullest. You see, and this is what people are often missing, that it doesn't mean you just shut it all off and go to sleep. It means sometimes you look at all of your options. You look at where your first level of pension comes in. Maybe fill it in with a side hustle, maybe a part-time job. Maybe you don't need any of that. Maybe you have a good defined benefit program with your ex-company, and maybe you can live on that. But everybody has to look at it differently in their own ways. All I'm going to tell you is clear that debt. Simplify your lives a little bit. But get all of that noise and nonsense and rhetoric about being productive and doing your thing and your part for society, because society wants you to keep paying taxes. I'm good. I'm out. I am active. I'm very, very active. Anybody who knows me knows I'm nonstop go, go, go. And I love being active. I love being productive. My side hustle keeps me more than busy. I'm way busier and more active than most people in their full-time jobs. I guarantee that. But I love it. I'm engaged. I do it for me. I have time now. If I need to break away and I'm going to spend some time with my kids or my wife and take a day off, hey, I'm in. I'm good. And we all just need to get to a place where we can enjoy that time when we have the quality time, and not assume that we're going to be healthy until we're 75, because in most cases, by that time, you'll be petered out. You'll be very disinterested or uninterested in, being very busy, being very active, traveling. By the time you're 75, you just want to chill. And that's just where we're at. This is society we're in today, and we just feel like everybody's leaning on us to be productive, and we can be productive in our own ways, but I'll tell you this much for free: we can't get our lives back. We can't. Once we burn up that time, it's gone. It's like the hourglass. Once that sand falls to the bottom, it's all over but the crying. So anyway, hope that helps everybody. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you agree with my theories? Gap filler, find those opportunities, but sometimes a combination of pension, Social Security, CPP, and a little bit of maybe side hustle or part-time job is all it takes to get it done. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon.